Well, Grant, what were your thoughts on today's game?
Poor, very, very poor from start to finish. Didn't do the basics right. You know, we just run out of the middle of the park for the throw-in that goes straight into Cox. Just flicks it around the corner. We don't stay with the runner. 1-0 down in the space of no time from our own mistake from a throw-in, and then we didn't show for the ball. We were lacklustre in everything we did, and get deservedly beaten.
I mean, we must have lost count of the number of times in commentary we said Tim Lynn wins the header. It seemed that so many times he was so unchallenged winning that ball in the middle of the park. Yeah,
that was the difference. Our two midfield players didn't pick a second ball up all day, and it's disappointing, you know, because Michael Doherty was knocking on the door to play, and he was ill. So them two need to get their act together in there. I'm telling you, it's not good enough. They didn't win a second ball all day. I don't think they played forward once. I think Chrissy played forward once, and Omar was in. But after that, we just side. You know, was just so slow in possession. Not just the two midfield players, but everyone. You know, we were just so slow and sloppy, and just feeding off scraps really. So listen, it's back to the drawing board. We have to. We've got 17 games left now. You know, every time we get an opportunity to pounce, we let it slip, and it's so frustrating. Was that six or seven defeats at home? Yeah. It's not good enough. It ain't good enough. And there's only one thing we can do is move on. We've got a week's training now to come, and we have to go and produce in the next game.
Chris and Anthony Grant both have obviously been playing in more of a three-man midfield. Do you think the switch to a 4-4-2 affected them at all in the way they played?
Yeah, I mean, listen, people call for the 4-4-2, don't they? And we should play 4-4-2. We should do this. You need energy and legs in there. You need people who can get about the pitch. You need your wide players to work hard. And unfortunately for us today, the two teams were matched in a 4-4-2, and they had more energy in us. They had more aggression in us. They worked harder than us. And I said at half time to the midfield players, you ain't doing enough. You're not doing enough. And you've just said it. You know, Timlin's picked up this, Timlin's picked up that. That was the whole day, you know, and we just didn't do enough.
And I know it's an easy excuse to make in terms of their new manager. They get that little bit more invigorated, but as you said, they look back. I mean, Cox was tracking back and getting in amongst the midfield battle at times as well. Whereas they had a few free headers, you were always pressured by them, weren't you?
Yeah, they had a little bit more nice than us today. Just little things in games, and you know, slowing the game down at the right times, and win free kicks and things like that. We just couldn't cope today. We couldn't cope physically against them. They were just overpowered us everywhere on the pitch, and albeit we scored two perfectly good goals, you know. And every time we have that referee, it seems to be a horror show, to be honest. So it's embarrassing really. If you see the goals back, both of them are onside.
You've seen them back, they're onside.
Yeah, I've seen the first one's a yard onside usually. The second one is probably level. So I mean, listen, I know it's not the referee that gives the decisions, but surely he has a right to overrule him. But he's trusted his linesman, who wasn't up a play, and obviously was just looking at Husey and not when the ball was passed. And it's frustrating. It's cost us today, but ultimately, really, we probably didn't deserve them 2 goals.
Yeah, it must be really difficult standing there knowing that. I mean, the second one, I wasn't sure. The first one looked a lot more onside than the second one. Also, there was an incident with their midfielder Yearwood, went into the book, and he wasn't booked just before that for a tackle that Ryan Tafazoli was later booked for.
I asked the fourth official about that, and he said, he felt as if the ball was going away from goal. And I said, well, that's not the point. He's through, and the centre forward's free in the box. It should have been a yellow card, and then if he does get a yellow card, he's probably sent off for the tackle in the middle of the pitch. So yeah, it's just a poor day for the officials, wasn't it? And I'm sure they'll hold their hands up.
And you know, I know you mentioned the number of home defeats now, and I guess what's frustrating for you is as well, you know, 3 of them 1-0, where the opposition have scored that goal in the first half, and you've just not been able to break them down over the course of the 90 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't do enough today. Listen, we put balls in the box, some of the corners went in, it just seemed to fall to the Southend player. We didn't have the aggression to go and win it, and I'm just really disappointed with the boys today. I am, and I always back them up in press conferences and say that, you know, we were unlucky at this and did this, but today we just didn't do enough. Not one player on the pitch did enough. And listen, like I always say, I'm the manager. I picked the team. I must have picked the wrong team today. That's the bottom line. I must have picked the wrong team, because the team that we picked on Friday looked like a team that was going to go and win a game, but when they go on the pitch, they didn't deliver it. So I'm really disappointed.
And it's important to know there are some results that have gone your way. 2 games in hand. It is still in your hands to get into the top 6 with those 2 games in hand. But you need wins, and you need to play better than that, of course, don't you?
Forget about the 2 games in hand. We need to get back on track, and that's what we need to do. Forget, everyone keeps talking about 2 games now and 1 game in hand. If we do this, we're in here. We need to focus on the next game, and that's it. You know, because every time we talk about that, we don't capitalise on it. So the boys need to focus. They need to get their act together, and we need to have a good week this week and go and get a win next week.
So Michael Doughty was ill, and in terms of Idris Kanu and Alex Penny, just space in the squad competition for places.
Yeah, just a squad game. Fortunately, they have the 2 that missed out today.
Thanks, Mark.
How did you think Bowden will do, Cam?
I thought he fed off scraps really. I thought we went into him too early. Our midfield players didn't look for the ball, and when they did look for the ball, it was too late. I thought he handled himself quite well. Run around, worked hard. He's only trained 1 day, Omar, so he'll be a good player for us, Omar, and he'll be a good acquisition for the rest of the season.